Hi everyone. This is a Yin Yoga sequence that I created that I think anybody can enjoy. However, I feel like you might enjoy it a little bit more if you work a lot on your feet. So for this practice today, have a blanket. I'm going to be teaching using a bolster. If you don't have a bolster, that's okay. Find another blanket, and what you'll do instead is roll this blanket up like a burrito, and then you can use this. That'll be perfectly fine. The other thing you can do if you don't have another blanket handy is you can take two pillows, stack them on top of each other, or just have one thick pillow. Blocks are optional, and I recommend practicing near a wall, somewhere that you can take your legs up. So have the blocks somewhere nearby, and then take the blanket to the side, start off with your bolster vertically on your mat or whatever it is that you're using in place for your bolster. Sit yourself down, but right in front of the bolster. Have the knees bent at first. Slowly roll your spine down on top of the bolster. And then from here, decide what you'd like to do with your legs. You can keep the knees bent, turn the toes in towards one another, let the knees rest against each other. You might extend the legs out in front of you, allowing the feet to flop open. If you'd like to stretch deeper into the hips, you'll bring the soles of the feet together and allow the knees to flop open. This is where your blocks might come into handy. If you're feeling like you're putting too much pressure in your hips or your knees, you'll take the blocks, put one underneath each knee. And as you're lying down on top of the bolster, if you notice that it's uncomfortable to have the heart above the head, you can take your blanket, place it on top of the bolster at the top, lie yourself back down so that your head is lifted up a little bit higher. You can take one hand onto your heart, one hand onto your belly, or you can have the palms by the side face up. Relax your body, relax your mind. In our active yoga practice, our yang practice, it's recommended that you breathe in and out through the nose. However, in our yin practice, it is recommended that you breathe in any way that is relaxing for the body. So if it's relaxing for you to breathe in and out through the nose, you'll breathe in and out through the nose. If it's more relaxing for you to breathe in and out through the mouth, then you'll breathe in and out through the mouth. And just because you choose one style of breathing doesn't mean that you have to stick to it. If at any point your body asks you to change it up, then allow yourself to change it up. Just about halfway through this pose, notice in your body where you might still be holding on. If you can let go and allow yourself to succumb to the pose a little bit deeper, Decide if you would like to keep your hands where they are. Maybe you'd like to start stretching into your shoulders, in which case you can make a cactus shape with the arms and reach them overhead. It's perfectly normal for this to feel a little bit uncomfortable at first. And with the hands overhead, as you start to relax a little bit deeper, you might notice that you experience pins and needles. It's perfectly normal as you're starting to change the circulation. If it becomes too much, you can always lower the hands back by the side. Otherwise, try and breathe through the discomfort and relax. Without feeling the need to rush, slowly start to roll yourself up off of the bolster. Remove the bolster from underneath you and set it to the side. If you used any blocks, you'll set those to the side as well. For this next series of poses, we're going to be lying on our backs for quite some time. So I recommend having your blanket folded up like a square. Set it down at the top of the mat so that you can make a small pillow for the head. And then come back to lying down on your back, having your knees bent. Keep the left knee pointed straight up, and then allow the right knee to fall down to the right. From here, start to slide the right foot underneath. Take the left hand to the right foot and try and draw the heel up towards the butt. The right knee is going to want to lift up. Lift your butt, tilt the tailbone towards the heel, set it back down. Keep the left knee pointed straight up the entire time and start to relax into the pose. This is a pose that I always like to do when I've been working on my feet for a few hours. It stretches into the front hip flexor. It massages around the calf muscle. It massages around the knee. And it stretches into the ankle as well. It's also really good at noticing where some tension lies in the legs. As you're lying here, notice that the knee might be lifting up unintentionally. The more you relax the hip and your quads, the closer the knee will come to the ground. Nearly halfway through the pose. Where can you continue to soften? Slowly begin to slide the right knee back over towards the right. Press into the right foot so that you can lift the knee back up. Extend the left leg down onto the ground and then draw the right knee into the chest, wrapping your arms around the shin. From here, just allow the leg to relax however it needs to. You can allow the gravity of the arms to allow the hip to open up towards the right. And with the left foot, allow it to relax, allow it to flop open. If this is already enough for you, you're going to go ahead and you're going to stay here. If you would like to try to stretch a little bit more into the calf and the hamstring, start to extend the right leg up towards the sky, but keep the foot relaxed. I would like to interlace my hands always behind my thigh for this one, just for a little bit more support. If this becomes too much, you can always lower the knee back down into the chest. Set the right foot back down and then plant the left foot back beside it so the knees are bent once again. So we're going to do these poses again on the opposite side. So now you're going to allow the left knee to fall to the left. You're going to slide the left foot underneath the right knee. Keeping the ankles away from each other, you can take the right hand to the left foot and slide the heel up towards your butt. Noticing already that the knee might be lifted off of the ground. Lift the butt up, tilt the tailbone forward towards the heel, then set it back down. Keeping the right knee pointed straight up. Starting to relax into the pose. Noticing the difference on this side versus the other side. None of our bodies are completely symmetrical. So if you're noticing that the body's not quite opening up the same way it did on the other side, there's nothing to worry about. It just means that you're human. All you can do is release and relax into the pose. And eventually the body will open up in its own time. It's not the deepest hip opener, but we are still stretching into the hips. So if you start to feel a little anxious, maybe you decide that you'll need to breathe in and out through the mouth, and perhaps that will help. Sometimes you just feel so good in a pose that you never want to come out of it. If right now it feels really good to continue stretching like this, allow yourself to stay. Otherwise, you're going to extend the right leg out in front of you, sliding the left knee to the side, and then you'll draw the left knee into the chest, interlacing the hands around the shin, allowing gravity to take over in the arms, opening the hip over towards the left. Allow the right foot to flap open and relax. You can stay with the knee drawn in towards the chest. If you'd like to go a little bit deeper, you'll extend the left foot up towards the sky, keeping the foot relaxed. I always interlace my hands behind the thigh. It gives a little bit more support. It's a little bit more difficult and it does require a little bit more effort to keep the foot lifted. So ask yourself where you can relax. The difficulty in the pose is trying to relax and use only the muscles that are required to keep the body lifted in this shape, using the most minimal effort possible. And as always, if you made a choice and eventually the body asks you to change it up, you'll change it up. foot is still extended up towards the sky, lower it back down. And however you need to, slowly start to lift yourself up. The next pose is going to be either single leg pigeon or figure four shape at the wall. So with single leg pigeon in Yin Yoga, it's called Swan Pose. You're going to take your bolster and have it horizontally on your mat. I also recommend taking your blanket and placing it behind the bolster. Starting off with your hands and knees on top of the blanket, take the hands forward of the bolster, step the right foot behind the right wrist, heel toe, the foot behind the left wrist, and then lie your shin down parallel to the short end of the mat, resting your hip on top of the bolster. From here, lift yourself up, and then slowly walk your hands forward, resting your head onto your hands. If this is too uncomfortable for the body to have the head onto the hands, you could keep yourself lifted onto your forearms, relax into the shoulders, and have the elbows beyond the shoulders. And then if single leg pigeon is too much for you altogether, you'll come to the wall, have both feet against the wall, take them up a little bit higher across the right ankle on top of the left knee, and then slide the left foot down. It might be enough for you to remain in the pose just like this, but if you do feel as though you'd like to deepen the stretch, you would take your right hand into the right thigh. Although this does require a little bit more effort, so if it's too much, you'll back off. I'm setting the timer. As you start to settle into the pose, notice what's going on with your mind. Are you unable to let go in certain areas of the body? When we start to release tension in our hips, it becomes confrontational for the rest of our body because it is a large area that stores lots of tension. So notice which muscles are trying to take over and control something that they have no control over. Start to relax into the back foot. Relax the back leg. Relax your shoulders. Allow the face to soften, releasing the eyebrows, unclenching the eyelids. Release your jaw. Remove your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Allow the belly to soften. We still have about 1 minute left in this pose. Notice if you're fighting with the mind still. Can you relax and release, knowing that time is almost up? If you need to continue stretching into your hip on this side, and you're not causing yourself any pain in doing so, allow yourself to stay for a little bit longer. Otherwise, we'll start to transition into our hip opener on the opposite side. If there is something that you need to do in between, like maybe you need to take a downward facing dog or lift the right foot up, do whatever it is that you need to do. And then eventually you'll transition into your hip opener on the opposite side. I want to remind you that none of our bodies are 100% symmetrical, so just because you were able to do something on one side does not necessarily mean that you should be able to do it on the other side or that it's right for you to do it on the other side. If you decide you want to come into Swan Pose once again on the left, and you notice that it becomes too much for the body, then you'll take yourself to the wall and do the figure 4 shape. Otherwise, in your Swan Pose, start to relax your body, relax your mind. In my Yang practice, I cannot wait for this pose to come up. But in my Yin practice, this is the pose where I find myself dwelling on whether or not I remembered to set the timer. Sometimes it's hard to quiet the mind. If you need to take deep inhales in and out through the mouth, allow yourself to do so. When things start to become too much, you can count the breaths. When you grow bored of counting breaths, you can count the things that you are grateful for. Still 1 more minute left of this pose. Are you still fighting with your mind? Can you soften into the pose a little bit more? If you would like to continue stretching into your hip on this side and you're not causing yourself any pain, then allow yourself to stay for a little bit longer. Otherwise, you'll slowly start to lift yourself up or remove yourself from the wall. And if you had to do something in between on the opposite side, please do it again on this side so that you're even. And then to counter this hip stretch, what we're going to do is take the bolster, leave the bolster where it is horizontally, sit your butt down directly on top of the bolster, use your hands to walk yourself back and extend the feet out in front of you, allowing the feet to flop open, lie yourself down, bringing the palms by either by your side or reaching them up overhead. This pose is actually a little bit of an inversion. Your heart is above the head. If it becomes too uncomfortable for you for any reason, you can lift yourself back up or press into the feet rather and slide the bolster forward so that it's underneath your knees instead, lying back down. It's not as deep of a counter stretch, but it is still effective. Continue to deepen your breath. without feeling the need to rush. You'll take the feet back, bending the knees. Plant the feet down so that you may slide the bolster out from underneath your butt. And then slowly start to lift yourself up. Make your way towards the wall. And we're going to take our legs up the wall. So start off by scooching your booty all the way up towards the wall, the side of your butt. And then slowly start to roll onto your back, taking the legs up the wall. If you're noticing that when you take the legs up the wall, the butt is lifted or it's difficult for you to get your legs up, you can take the bolster underneath the butt, so you'd take it right up against the wall, sit down on top of the bolster, and then you would take the legs up. Once again, sometimes it's a little bit difficult to get yourself up, so get yourself up onto it however you need to, and then start to relax, allowing the feet to relax, allowing the legs to relax. You can take the hands overhead into a cactus shape if that's all right with you. Relax the mind, relax the body. And this pose isn't easy for everybody. For some people, it's a little bit difficult. So notice if you're fighting with your mind. Start to scan and check your body. Notice the areas that feel good in the pose. The blood is rushing out of the legs and back down into the body. If you stand on your feet a lot, you might be noticing that the feet, the ankles, the calves are starting to experience pins and needles. It's perfectly normal. Rather than allowing yourself to become anxious, can you breathe through the discomfort and find solace in knowing that this will all be over soon? You have the option of keeping the legs straight up the wall. If your space allows for it and your body is asking you to do this, you may start to spread the legs a little bit wider down the wall, stretching into the inner groin, the inner legs. Gravity will start to take over here, drawing the feet a little bit closer down towards the ground. So if it starts to become too much, you may take your blocks, place them underneath the thighs so that you have a stopper. You could also take the hands underneath the thighs, resting the elbows against the ground. If you decided to spread the feet apart wide and then are noticing that this was actually the wrong choice, then you'll take the feet back up the wall. As we're coming near the end of the class, ask yourself if you would like to remain with your legs up the wall throughout Shavasana. Otherwise, if you'd like to take a more traditional Shavasana, slide the legs back down the wall, roll over to one side, and then find yourself back on your back. It feels really nice to take the bolster and put it underneath the knees. It also might feel nice to take the blanket and place it on top of your chest. Allow the palms to come by the side face up. Allow the feet to flop open. Relax your mind. Relax your body. Starting first with the space in between your eyebrows. Feel the relaxing sensation trickle down your temples, down your neck, pass through your arms, brush the palms of your hands, and extend out through the fingertips. Feel it as it travels down your sides, passes through your legs, brushes the tops of your feet, and extends out through the tips of your toes. Release into deep relaxation. Shavasana. If your day allows for it, please remain in Shavasana for as long as you wish. Otherwise, when you're ready, and only when you're ready, will you gently start to help yourself up into your comfortable seat. As you come into your comfortable seat, acknowledge the changes in your body, noticing the shifts in the mind. Take a moment and thank your body for bringing you to your mat for this practice today. It has been my sincerest pleasure to guide you. The spirit which resides within me honors and sees the spirit which resides within you. May we all know peace. Namaste.